Superman, the iconic character who launched the superhero genre as we know it. What about him? From Kirk Alyn's black and white serials to Christopher Reeves' iconic film franchise, and from Henry Cavill's Man of Steel in the DCEU to David Corenswet in James Gunn's bold new reboot, let's get into it. Please help your favorite average movie guy get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing right now. Superman serial 1948. Before anyone else, there was Kirk Alyn, the first man to portray Superman and his alter ego Clark Kent in live action in this 15-chapter movie serial produced by Columbia Pictures. At the time, superhero films were almost unheard of, and this was the first time the Man of Steel leapt from comic pages to the screen. The story is classic pulp. Superman faces off against a criminal mastermind known as the Spider Lady, whose goal is to steal a powerful invention called the Reducer Ray. Each chapter ends with a cliffhanger, drawing audiences back to theaters week after week. But the real standout, the flying, or rather the lack of it. The budget couldn't handle the effects for a live-action flight sequence, so whenever Superman takes off, the screen cuts to a hand-drawn animation. By today's standards, it's quite jarring, but in 1948 it was pure movie magic. Despite its limitations, the serial was a massive hit. It captured the imagination of post-war America, setting the stage for Superman's future in visual media. Kirk Alyn brought an earnestness and physicality to the role that made audiences believe in this new kind of hero.
Spider Lady, you're finished.
Atom Man vs. Superman 1950. 2 years after his debut, Kirk Alyn returned to the skies in the sequel serial that upped the stakes, the spectacle, and surprisingly, the sci-fi. This time, Superman faces off against his arch-nemesis Lex Luthor, who is hiding behind the metallic mask of Atom Man. In a clear nod to post-war anxieties and the rise of nuclear fear, Luthor plots to destroy Metropolis using a range of fantastical weapons. The serial format remains the same, but Atom Man vs. Superman pushes further into comic book absurdity, in the best way possible. Visually, it's still limited. Superman's flying scenes are animated, and the effects are primitive even by the standards of the time, but the storyline is bigger, bolder, and more confident. The serial is far from polished, but it shows a franchise trying to evolve and a hero proving that his greatest battles would always be with the minds of men, not just their fists.
The public knows that I'm always glad to cooperate with the police in preventing crime.
Superman and the Mole Man, 1951. The following year, Superman returned to the big screen, but this time with a new face and in the first feature film. Enter George Reeves, the actor who would become synonymous with Superman for an entire generation. The film was a low-budget but pioneering effort. The plot is simple, yet surprisingly thoughtful. Superman faces a group of tiny, underground creatures called the Mole Man, who surface in a small desert town. The townfolk react with panic and violence, afraid of what they don't understand, reflecting Cold War-era anxieties about outsiders and the unknown. Superman, as always, is the voice of reason, urging compassion and understanding. George Reeves brings a calm, reassuring presence to Clark Kent and Superman, setting a tone that blends earnest heroism with human warmth. The film's modest special effects and small scale only add to its charm, making it a unique, almost intimate take on the superhero mythos. It stands out as an early example of Superman stories that grapple with deeper social themes, proving the character's potential beyond just action and spectacle.
Now I'm going to give you one last chance to stop acting like Nazi stormtroopers.
Adventures of Superman, 1952 to 1958. Following the success of the feature film, the following year, George Reeves donned the cape for the television series that would become the first long-running Superman show. This series brought the Man of Steel into millions of American living rooms during the early days of television. It set a new standard for superhero storytelling in a serialized format, combining action, morality tales, and occasional lighthearted moments. George Reeves' Superman was a beacon of hope, steadfast, noble, and invincible. His Clark Kent was earnest and a bit more subdued compared to later versions, but his duality made him relatable and grounded. The show's stories were often straightforward, Superman fighting kidnappers, battling corrupt businessmen, or saving lives with Lois Lane, providing both romance and investigative spark. Despite its sometimes limited budget and effects, the show embraced practical stunts and character-driven drama. It was among the first to flesh out Superman's supporting cast and the world of Metropolis. It was a template for many superhero shows to come, and George Reeves' performance left a lasting legacy, influencing how Superman would be portrayed for decades. And it, funny enough, also led to the attempt to capitalize on the character with weird and failed attempts at shows like The Adventures of Super Pup in 1958.
Straight to Metropolis? Excuse me, Professor.
Superman, 1978. Then, a massive 2 decades later, the world saw Superman soar to new heights with Richard Donner's Superman, a film that redefined the superhero genre and set the gold standard for comic book adaptations. Christopher Reeves was cast as the Man of Steel, embodying both the humility of Clark Kent and the power of Superman with perfect balance. His performance was sincere, hopeful, and charismatic, capturing the heart and soul of the character in a way never seen before on screen. The film's storytelling blended mythology, action, romance, and humor. It opened with a moving depiction of Krypton's destruction and Clark's arrival on Earth, grounding the story in an emotional origin that resonated with audiences. Visually, Superman broke new ground, from groundbreaking special effects that convincingly showed flight to John Williams' iconic heroic score. Every element came together to create a sense of awe and wonder. The film wasn't just a superhero film, it was a modern myth. One that embraced the ideals of truth, justice, and hope during a time when the world needed them most. The film's success proved that comic book stories could be taken seriously on the big screen, inspiring generations of filmmakers and fans alike. It wasn't just a film, it was the moment Superman truly became a global icon.
See, I'm from, pretty far away. Another galaxy, as a matter of fact.
Superman 2, 1981. Just 3 years after the groundbreaking original, the sequel hit, diving deeper into the mythology of the Man of Steel. The film raises the stakes by introducing powerful Kryptonian villains like General Zod, Ursa, and Nun, who escape from the Phantom Zone and threaten Earth's existence. The story also explores Superman's internal struggle between his alien heritage and his human life, especially through its complicated romance with Lois Lane. Behind the scenes, Superman 2 faced a turbulent production, with director Richard Donner replaced midway. This led to 2 very different versions of the film, the theatrical cut and decades later, the Richard Donner cut, released in 2006, which restored much of Donner's original vision and footage. Both versions showcased iconic moments, Superman's epic battles, his temporary loss of powers, and his ultimate sacrifice and redemption. Superman 2 expanded the cinematic world of the hero, balancing blockbuster spectacle with emotional depth. It remains a fan favorite and a key chapter in the legacy of Superman on screen.
You are Superman, aren't you?
Lois, look, we've been through these hallucinations of yours before.
Superman 3, 1983. 2 years later, the third film took a different turn, introducing a blend of action and comedy that proved divisive among fans and critics alike. Christopher Reeves obviously returned as Superman, but this time, the film leaned heavily into humor, largely thanks to Richard Pryor's performance as Gus Gorman. A bumbling computer genius becomes entangled in a corporate villain's plot. The story sees Superman battling Ross Webster, a ruthless industrialist, but also explores a darker side of the hero himself. When exposed to synthetic kryptonite, Superman undergoes a dramatic personality shift, unleashing a more aggressive and reckless version of himself, an unusual and bold move for the franchise. While some enjoyed the light-hearted tone and Pryor's comic energy, others felt the film strayed too far from the heroic, hopeful spirit that defined the character. Superman 3 didn't quite capture the magic of its predecessors, but it remains an interesting chapter that experimented with the limits of Superman's cinematic identity.
How bad is it? My God, Superman, it's a nightmare. Everything in there is either explosive or inflammable or worse.
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, 1987. 4 years later, the fourth and last film arrived with big ambitions, but unfortunately fell short in execution. Christopher Reeves returned once more for the last time. The film took a bold step by making Superman a global peacekeeper, directly addressing the real-world threat of nuclear weapons. The message was clear and noble. Superman stands for hope, not just against villains, but against humanity's self-destructive impulses. However, budget cuts and rushed production led to subpar special effects and a weaker script. The villain, Nuclear Man, a being created from Superman's own DNA, felt less threatening and more cartoonish compared to previous foes. Critics and audiences alike were extremely disappointed. The film's tone wavered, and its message, while well-intentioned, couldn't save it from being underwhelming, to say the least.
I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
Superboy, 1988 to 1992. The following year until 1992, this TV series brought a fresh perspective to the Superman mythos by focusing on his teenage years in Smallville. Starring John Hames Newton and later Gerard Christopher as Superboy, as well as a cool appearance of Ron Ely as a retired Superman, the series explored Clark Kent's early struggles to understand and control his emerging powers while balancing life as a high school student. This show was significant as one of the earliest live-action depictions of Superman's youth, paving the way for future origin stories by delving into the character's formative years before he donned the cape. Though the series had a modest budget and occasional cheesy special effects, it captured the spirit of youthful heroism and the challenges of growing up different. Funny enough, this wasn't the first attempt at a Superboy show, as they already tried it in 1961 with a failed pilot for the adventures of Superboy. In contrast to that show, this Superboy show is often remembered fondly by fans for its earnest storytelling and its role in expanding the Superman universe on television.
You expected a glass jaw?
Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, 1993 to 1997. 1 year after the last TV series ended, the next one already flew onto the television screen, bringing a fresh, modern take on the Man of Steel, focusing as much on romance and character as on superheroics. Starring Dean Cain as Clark Kent and Superman, and Terry Hatcher as Lois Lane, the show emphasized their evolving relationship, mixing lighthearted humor with drama and action. This balance gave the series a unique appeal, highlighting the human side of the superhero myth. Set in Metropolis, the series embraced the classic comic book elements while exploring new storylines that deepened the characters' emotional arcs. It leaned into the idea that Superman's greatest strength wasn't just his power, but his capacity for love and compassion. Lois and Clark captured the 90s zeitgeist, appealing to a wide audience beyond just comic book fans, and helped keep Superman relevant in the era of rising superhero TV shows. Its legacy, making the romance between Lois and Clark a central, beloved part of the Superman story.
Sorry, like you said, can't use my powers.
Smallville, 2001 to 2011. 4 years later, this TV series redefined Superman's origin story for a new generation, similar to Superboy, focusing on Clark Kent's teenage years and early adulthood before he became the hero we know. Starring Tom Welling, the show spent 10 seasons exploring Clark's struggles with his alien heritage, its emerging powers, and the moral choices that would shape him into Superman. Smallville stood out for its serialized storytelling and its deep dive into character development, friendships, and the complexities of growing up different in a small town. Furthermore, it also introduced a rich cast of supporting characters, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Lana Lang, and villains drawn from the comics. Unlike previous adaptations, Smallville largely avoided showing Clark in the full Superman costume for most of its run, focusing instead on the journey from boy to hero. The show proved that Superman's story could evolve with the time, resonating with audiences looking for both heroism and heart.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Superman Returns, 2006. During Smallville's run, Superman also returned to the big screen for the first time in almost 2 decades, with this film attempting to revive the spirit of the Christopher Reeves films while bringing the character into the 21st century. Directed by Bryan Singer and starring Brandon Routh, the film picks up years after Superman's mysterious disappearance, exploring his return to a world that has moved on and a Lois Lane who has built a life without him. The film was a love letter to the original 1978 Superman and a homage sequel to the first 2 films, echoing their tone, style, and even music, but with modern visual effects and a more introspective take on the hero. Superman Returns focused heavily on Superman's relationships, especially the complicated dynamic with Lois and the questions of legacy and responsibility. Though it received mixed reviews and didn't launch the hoped-for franchise, the film is praised for its respectful homage and for Brandon Routh's earnest performance, capturing the essence of Superman's hope and ability. The film stands out as a thoughtful, if somewhat nostalgic chapter in the character's cinematic history.
You wrote that the world doesn't need a savior.
Superman in the DCEU. Man of Steel, 2013. 7 years later, this film relaunched Superman for the modern era, with a fresh, ambitious take directed by Zack Snyder. Henry Cavill starred as Clark Kent, portraying a more conflicted and introspective hero grappling with his alien origins and the enormous responsibility of protecting Earth. It is very much an origin story. The film begins on Krypton, showcasing the planet's fall and Clark's journey to Earth, grounding his origin in a visually stunning and emotional way. Man of Steel distinguishes itself with intense, large-scale action sequences, including epic battles with the villain, General Zod, that push the boundaries of superhero cinema visual effects. Unlike previous versions, this Superman is darker and more humanized, wrestling with moral ambiguity and the cost of his powers on the world around him. Though divisive among fans and critics for its tone and destruction-heavy action, Man of Steel set a new foundation for Superman within the DCEU, and paved the way for a more complex portrayal of the character in contemporary pop culture.
Don't play games with me, General. I'll surrender.
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, 2016. 3 years later, this film raised the stakes for Superman by introducing a darker, more conflicted hero facing off against Batman, two of DC's greatest icons. Henry Cavill returned as Superman, portrayed as a powerful but polarizing figure. The film explores themes of fear, power, and accountability as the public and Batman question Superman's role on Earth after the devastating fallout from Man of Steel. The film also introduced Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, expanding the DCEU roster of heroes and setting up the eventual Justice League. Batman v Superman is known for its intense action, dramatic confrontations, and a brooding atmosphere. While opinions on the film were mixed, it played a crucial role in deepening Superman's complexity and exploring the consequences of his immense power. This film marked a turning point for the DCEU, moving towards a larger shared universe in a more mature, sometimes darker tone.
Where is she? I don't know! I would not let them tell me! Now, if you kill me, Martha dies.
Justice League 2017. The following year, this film brought together DC's iconic heroes, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg to face an otherworldly threat. Henry Cavill's Superman, who had sacrificed himself in Batman v Superman, is resurrected to help save the world, symbolizing hope and unity. While the film received mixed reviews for its tone and pacing, it marked a significant moment in the DCEU, expanding its universe and setting up future stories. But as we all know, that didn't really mean anything. Superman's presence underscored his role as a central figure in this shared cinematic world, a beacon for the team and the audience alike.
But I'm also a big fan of justice.
Zack Snyder's Justice League 2021. After a faceless cameo by actor and stuntman Ryan Handley at the end of Shazam in 2019, 4 years after the original, fans finally saw Zack Snyder's Justice League, a 4-hour director's cut that restored the original vision for the DCEU's epic team-up. This version gave Henry Cavill's Superman more depth, showing his struggle to regain purpose after returning from death. His resurrection is portrayed with powerful emotional weight, highlighting his role as a beacon of hope. The extended runtime allowed for richer storytelling and stronger character development, making Superman's arc more compelling and heroic than the theatrical release.
Not impressed.
Final cameos in the DCEU 2022 to 2023. The first cameo came at the end of Peacemaker Season 1, where Superman appeared silhouetted alongside the Justice League. That same year, in Black Adam's post-credits scene, Henry Cavill made a surprising return, sparking speculation about a renewed DCEU, but it wouldn't last. The last few Superman cameos came in The Flash, which featured a multiverse of distasteful Superman nods, including a digitally recreated Henry Cavill, Nicolas Cage's infamous unmade version, as well as George Reeves and Christopher Reeves in archive footage. It marked the end of Superman in the DCEU and the end of the DCEU itself. However, it was done in a very distasteful way, looking at the history of the character in movies and TV.
We should talk.
Superman in the Arrowverse. Supergirl 2016 to 2019. Within the Arrowverse, taking place alongside the DCEU, but strictly on TV, Superman made his first notable impact through his recurring appearances on this TV series. Portrayed by Tyler Hoechlin, this version of Superman is a powerful, compassionate hero who acts as a mentor and big brother figure to his cousin, Kara, Supergirl. His presence brought a strong sense of legacy and connection to the show, grounding Supergirl in the larger universe while highlighting the bond between these two Kryptonian heroes. Hoechlin's Superman balances strength with warmth and wisdom, embodying the ideals of hope and heroism that define the Man of Steel. This portrayal helped introduce Superman to a new TV audience, reinforcing his role as a cornerstone of the DC superhero world.
No, I'm very proud just to be working beside you.
Elseworlds 2018. During Supergirl's run, Superman played a pivotal role in the Arrowverse crossover event, Elseworlds, a thrilling storyline that reshaped realities and tested the heroes like never before. Tyler Hoechlin's Superman teamed up with heroes from Arrow, The Flash, and Supergirl, joining forces to stop a powerful villain who threatens the fabric of their worlds. This crossover showcased Superman's strength and leadership, highlighting his importance not just as a solo hero, but as a key player in the larger superhero community. The Elseworlds crossover brought multiple universes together, including Clark and Lois' relationship, and an early tease of their eventual family.
I'm Superman.
Crisis on Infinite Earths 2019. Following year, the Arrowverse reached its most ambitious event with Crisis on Infinite Earths, a sprawling crossover adapting one of DC Comics' most iconic storylines. Tyler Hoechlin's Superman was central to the battle against the Anti-Monitor, joining an army of heroes from multiple Earths to save the multiverse from destruction. This event was significant for uniting different versions of Superman across media. Most notably, Brandon Routh reprised his role as the Kingdom Come Superman from 2006's Superman Returns. Tom Welling also appeared as Clark Kent, reprising his role from Smallville, creating a powerful moment of legacy and homage. Crisis on Infinite Earths celebrated Superman's enduring legacy, his unwavering hope, and his role as a symbol that transcends worlds and realities, in a better way than The Flash did multiple years later. The crossover redefined the Arrowverse universe, setting new stakes and possibilities for Superman and all the heroes involved.
Stay and face Luthor. And you won't do it alone.
Superman and Lois, 2021 to 2024. 2 years later, this TV show was launched, the last Superman portrayal up until the new DCEU, offering a fresh and intimate look at Clark Kent, balancing his life as the world's greatest hero with his role as a husband and father. Tyler Hoechlin reprised his role as Superman, navigating the challenges of raising teenage sons while facing new threats that test his strengths and values. The series was originally part of the Arrowverse's Earth Prime, but due to complications, it became set in its own separate continuity. This grounded, character-driven approach resonated with audiences, proving that even a hero as iconic as Superman can face everyday struggles and triumphs.
Stay right here. I'll be right back.
Superman in the new DCU. Superman 2025. Now, we get to the newest portrayal, marking a bold new chapter in the DC universe, spearheading the launch of the new DCU. Directed by James Gunn and starring the relatively unknown David Corenswet as Superman, it isn't just another reboot, it's a return to the essence of the character. In this version, Superman has already been active for a couple years, working on the Daily Planet, flying over Metropolis, and walking the line between his two identities. Clark Kent and Kal-El. This Superman is younger but not naive, he's kind but not soft. James Gunn has described him as a man of two worlds, someone navigating the values of his human upbringing with the weight of his Kryptonian legacy. This is a Superman who still believes in doing the right thing, even when the world has become cynical about what that means. Gunn and co-head of DC Studios, Peter Safran, have framed him as a symbol of kindness in a world that thinks kindness is old-fashioned. And Corenswet, towering at 6'4", has physically transformed for the role, embodying the strength and presence the character demands, while reportedly bringing a quiet humility to the performance. This isn't about deconstructing Superman, it's about reminding us why he matters. In a world of anti-heroes and moral grey areas, Superman is aiming to reintroduce the Man of Steel as what he was always meant to be, an ideal to strive towards for everyone.
Hey buddy, eyes up here.
And there you have it! Superman's full history in movies and TV. From his adventures on TV in the Arrowverse to his larger stories on the big screen. Now let me ask you, are you excited for Superman? And what Superman portrayal is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these. I have been Dean, the average movie guy on your screen. Big thanks for watching. See you next time. Roll the credits.